I'm going to be shortening the frame by 10 inches. And currently the wheelbase is about 113 inches. And I want to shorten that to about 103. I'm going to show how I'm going to go about doing it. I've never done this before. I'll show you what I plan on doing right now. There's some rust here that I want to repair. When I take the 10 inches out of this section of the frame, I want to be able to pull that in to this section in order to do that rust repair. I'll start removing here. You can know that here. So because I am taking 10 inches out of the frame, I'm gonna have to cut apart this X-brace center. And this will also allow me that when I do eventually fit the engine and transmission, I will have the room for the transmission. But for now, I'm just gonna completely cut out this center section. To this side. Oh, it's officially in half. Now, I feel like I need to get the frame leveled in order to get everything to fit perfectly or exactly as it should. Get out of there. Hopefully soon these two pieces will be back together again. Let me just explain a little bit what I'm trying to do here. is I'm gonna make a little cardboard template. In the end, I just want there to be a plate here to reinforce this structure since I have cut it in half. So I don't want it on the outside because I want the body to fit as close to this frame as possible because I will be channeling the body. And because there's all these holes, I will simply be able to transfer those holes over to this side, and I'll be able to find my centers and everything based off of these holes here, which I still got to grind out where this body mount was, and I'll probably use these holes too to find that center also. Because this half of the frame is mirrored on the other side, so anything I do over here can translate into the other side. Because this here where these old rivets were was a body mount for the old car, I believe. But the same exact thing is on the other side, so after I knock these holes out, I can use it to locate this plate that I'm gonna weld in. So thus I can make one template that will work for both sides of the frame. So I'm gonna start with this side because this side I cut it a little bit more evenly, and then anything that, or any mistakes or any imperfections that are on this other side, I can replicate based off of this side so that both sides are symmetrical. So there's a captive nut right here that I'm gonna have to remove in order so that when I finally put the steel piece in, it will come flush with the back side of this panel here. About where I want it too. So I have these center set punches I'm gonna use to line up in the holes here. This little point here, I can use a hammer and hit the hammer into the metal, the plate that I just made. And this outside will find the center of this hole. So that way it'll transfer that bolt pattern that's here from this old body mount into the plate of steel that I'm using to brace up this frame. Got that hole lined up. Got it, see that got there? That's where I went with the Sharpie and redid it. There and there. So now I can take everything apart and drill all these holes out, and then I could transfer them to the other piece. So now that I have all of my holes punched, I'm gonna clamp, you see I have both pieces of steel here. I'm gonna clamp them together. And I wanna transfer, when I drill this hole, I wanna go all the way through both pieces of steel so that they line up perfectly, so that they're exactly the same. I ended up drilling these holes out a little bit bigger because the drill bit that I had was a little bit too big for them, but it was very close. So I ended up just opening these up so it would match perfectly to the panel. Glove. Yeah, frame is pretty symmetrical on both sides. Like that, those holes line up perfect. I might need to go pick up some more bolts for this. So I'll probably have to do that tomorrow, but in the meantime, I am gonna just go ahead and look and see what I have laying around here in the garage. I remembered from my last video, I had the bolts that held the brake caliper brackets to the axle tubes on the rear end, and I have to replace these anyway. So I needed 8 bolts and I had exactly 8 of these, and I believe they are going to fit perfectly. Yeah, there we go. Easier and easier every time. So I got all the plates bolted in and everything looks nice and straight. Like we were hoping, both sides of the frame are quite symmetrical. I think I just need to clean up some debris back here to get this piece to be flush with that plate. There might be some rust or something built up that got pushed in, but I'll probably do that sometime tomorrow because it's getting kind of late. So yeah, so tomorrow I'm gonna take this apart, clean everything really well, and then I'll start welding everything together. Never mind, I think I'm gonna do it tonight. I take it all back. I'm too much into it. Got everything all put back together after cleaning up all the rusted metal. Everything's bolted in place. Everything looks super straight and nice. All the holes lined up almost like perfectly. So I'm gonna call it for tonight. I did a little bit more than I was expecting to, but I'm gonna weld everything up tomorrow. Got all my holes drilled. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And I did 2 X patterns in either side. What I did is I drilled all the way through the first layer, maybe halfway to maybe 3/4 of the way through the second layer, the plate I put in there. And that plate's about maybe 3/16 an eighth of an inch thick, somewhere in there. So what I did that for is I just want to get really good penetration. So if you see, when I start this weld, I'm going to start at the center of this hole, and I'm going to hold the weld there and slowly swirl in a circular pattern until I get to the outside and it's fully welded. And I just want to make sure this hole is fully filled with weld, so that way when I come back and grind this off, I have full penetration and the weld is completely solid and these two pieces are mated together. Gotta turn up my wire speed. Okay, so that's fully filled in. Doesn't look the best. I gotta maybe make some adjustments to my welder. So I think I got the welder dialed in a lot better. If you look at my first weld, and I worked my way this way, and then this was the one I did after I adjusted the wire speed, because I was too much wire speed here and here, and then I slowed it down here and here, and then I slowed it down and got this weld, which I'm really happy with. This one that I'm really happy with, and then these. This is the one I overheated, or the welder's duty cycle ended, so I gotta give it a break. But this is the one I was doing before that happened, so I think I've got it pretty well dialed in. So after that first round of welding and grinding, this is where I'm at. As you can see, there's some low spots in here, so I'm gonna have to go back in with the welder and I'm gonna weld these over so I can make this perfectly smooth. And I think I am gonna go ahead and do some passes in this little square here, because I wanna fill this in and just make it nice and flush. And then also here, you can still see some of these spot welds. So I'm gonna go back in with the welder and fill those in. And then I might call it for the night because it's getting a little late. So here I am back at it the next day. Just turned on the heater, so it's getting warmed up in here. I'm gonna get back on finishing up this side here. Like I said yesterday, I'm going to weld over these parts again, and then I'm just gonna assess some other areas that I need to either reinforce or just go back in and weld. And I'll also, in the future, I will be boxing this frame in along these rails and reinforcing this. So there's gonna be a lot more reinforcing going on in this frame in the future also, because even this part here, there's some rust I do need to repair right over there anyway. So there's a lot of welding that's gonna be going on with this frame. So, you know, this isn't the only welding I will be doing. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get right into it. So I'm just gonna set up and do a time lapse of me just welding this all up, and then I'll bring you back in to show you what I did once I'm done. well, ran out of MIG wire, and this is probably actually a good thing because this was flux core, and I did get an argon tank. So I've been kind of running it with both argon and flux core, but the welds are coming out better than they were when I was just running the flux core. But anyway, I just ordered a new wire spool that's 100% mild steel on Amazon. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to come in, I am going to work on another project. So you'll see that in an upcoming video. So until I get that wire spool in, we're going to have to wait to get back to this. So I'm currently waiting for my welding wire to come in. So I'm just going to go ahead and grind all the rivets off of this X center and prep it to weld it back in. And hopefully I'll be able to do that tonight, if not tomorrow. New spool of wire in the welder. Let's get back to it. So as you can see by the mess, I finally finished welding both sides, and then I ground all the welds down. And if you're wondering why I went through so many flap discs, it's because the Amazon flap discs are absolute garbage. It seems like I grind one little weld that's about 2 inches long and the disc is done. But anyway, this is how it came out. And this is the driver's side. This is the passenger side. And now I'm seeing I forgot to grind a couple welds. So I'll go ahead and grind those off and clean up this mess. And I'll be right back. It's kind of hard to tell from this video whether or not I got this straight, but here's a level. That's about where it straightens out. And you can see it's pretty close. It does dip in here where I have been grinding. So I did take a lot of material out of that area. But if we compare to this side, it's pretty dead on. And once again, there is a dip in that area where I did weld everything back together. So I'm pretty happy with the symmetry. Pretty happy with the way that came out. Well, that was a lot of work. You know, welding all that. That was a lot of welding for this little welder. It's only a 90 amp and it's 120 volts. So I definitely reached the limit of this welder doing this. The plate that I put in there was about 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch, and then the sheet metal or the frame is about 1/8 of an inch thick. And I was having issues with the welder in the end. I did get some new wire today. It seems like the flux core was working a lot better than the solid wire. And I was using my argon tank, but it seemed at some point there was just a lot of spattering. If you have any ideas on anything I can do to fix that, maybe you could comment down below. Because it was fine on the last spool. It wasn't spattering as much. And so I don't know. Maybe it was the wire I got, because I did buy a cheap spool of wire off of Amazon. So it could have been the wire. I'll probably just have to buy another roll and just see if it, maybe a name brand, and just see if it works better than this. But the welds did turn out good. I know this thing's definitely strong. Like, I'll stand on it right now, and you know, it's definitely has the strength it needs. If not, it's probably stronger than it was before. But yeah. So thanks for watching, and still trying to decide what we're gonna do for next week's video. But I guess you'll know when you know. So see you next time.